Hi everyone, Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and we have new information regarding iOS 19, iPhone 17, as well as iOS 18.5 RC and more. This is your news update for April 29th, 2025. Now, one thing I want to mention, Apple released a new website. I don't know much about it, but the name of the website is called snapshot.apple.com. That name reminds me of Snapchat, which is the app. I don't know 100% about this website, but I guess you can track Apple athletes with this website from what I heard. But it's a brand new website that was announced from Apple. Now, as far as the iPhone 17, well, we haven't really heard much about that particular model. Testing for the iPhone 17 manufacturing that device is completed with the all-new design. The design that Apple is going to go with is finally locked into place. How we could have the camera bar across the top of the iPhone 17. This will look very identical to the Google Pixel, how the Google Pixel phones have the camera bar across the top. That is expected to be on the iPhone 17 models as well. But instead of having three cameras horizontally, we can have the camera bar, the camera tray horizontally, but have the same sort of camera design where it's two cameras plus the one camera next to that with the flashlight and LiDAR pushed to the far right. It was at first rumored that we could see a design with three cameras horizontally, but this is more accurate of what it could look like with the three cameras and the flashlight and LiDAR pushed back to the far right. As far as updates from Apple, yesterday Apple released iOS 18.5 Developer Beta 4. iOS 18.5 doesn't really have that many new features, but we are expected those Pride wallpapers. I honestly really love it when we get new wallpapers. We're expected to have Pride wallpapers as Pride Month is in June. And we can have Pride wallpapers in iOS 18.5, kind of similar to how we got them in iOS 17.5. And these are the ones from iOS 17.5 and also iOS 16.5 also. This one did not release in a 0.5 update. It was just thrown in as part of the iOS 16 early betas. But that's a wallpaper we can expect to see in iOS 18.5, new Pride wallpapers. Now, I would expect that in the release candidate, and the release candidate I would expect next week on May 5th, 2025, with a final release on May 12th, and I will have a video out talking about new changes in iOS 18.5 and what it has to offer. Now, as far as iOS 19, it's rumored that we could have some kind of stage manager feature when you hook it up to an external monitor, hook the iPhone up to an external monitor. I don't know what stage manager could look like on the iPhone, but one thing I do want to see is split screen. That's been rumored, and that's not the only thing I want to see. I want to see a landscape home screen, and I want to see Apple bring back that floating tab bar that was in the early betas of iOS 15. I really love the look of that tab bar when I've seen pictures of it, and I would like for Apple to bring that back in iOS 19. iOS 19 is expected to have animations that is very identical to the Apple Sports app. So if I go into the Apple Sports app here, when you click on different things, it's expected that iOS 19 will have a design where it's a pull-up design where instead of apps kind of opening from the middle, they sort of pull up. And that was demonstrated in the iOS 19 demo. I don't have the demo, but there is ways to get the demo through the internet. But that's one sort of updated design we could have. New animation changes. It was rumored that when you swipe up, you could swipe up from the top. I honestly don't think I'm going to like this. I prefer the swipe up from the bottom gesture. I don't know about the swipe down gesture to close out of apps. I like swiping down to get to my notifications, but to swipe down to get out of an app, I don't think I'm going to like that update. If Apple changes that, or that animation rather, the update itself is going to be pretty nice, but hopefully we don't get a swipe down gesture to close apps. I prefer swiping up. But maybe Apple might have ways to make it look interesting. But we can definitely see animation changes in iOS 19. And there's also a lot of features coming to iPad that I want to mention as well. It's rumored that in iPadOS 19, we could have a design that's very similar to the Mac. When you plug the iPad into an external monitor, the dock, the iPad's dock, could sort of turn Mac-like. And maybe you could have a trash can icon to delete apps. Stage Manager could also have improvements, but Stage Manager itself is already a good feature. I unfortunately am not able to try that out, as the iPad that I have does not support Stage Manager. That's a feature for the iPad Pro with the A12Z chip and A12X and M1 chips. I have an iPad Air 4th generation, which does not support Stage Manager, and it also does not support Apple Intelligence. But one thing it will support is iOS 19. Apple is keeping support for this particular device, along with the iPad 8th generation. The iPad 7th generation, I believe, is going to be dropped from support. They could drop the iPad 8th gen, as the iPhone XR, XS, and XS Max are also being dropped as well. As far as if I will be installing the iOS 19 beta, well, that depends, as I'm planning on upgrading my iPhone, getting the iPhone 14. If I keep this device, I will put the beta on my iPhone 12. However, if you're planning on putting it on your main device, there is one thing you should know. Make sure you back up your iCloud or your Apple ID, and you want to make sure you have a computer, as you can't roll back to a stable version such as iOS 18.6 without a computer. If you restore your device, you're basically going to be setting it up as a new device. So having that iCloud backup is going to help with that. And we can see iOS 19 on June 9th, 2025. And on June 8th, I will have a video showing you how to prepare to update. We're going to have betas throughout July with the public beta, August, and a final release in September. And I will have a video where I talk about iOS 19 and its new features. The video itself probably won't be an hour long, but I'm going to have a live stream later that night where I talk about all of the features that I missed in the What's New video, plus more features that are also found within iOS 19. So stay tuned for the next couple of months, as I will cover iOS 19 if I install the beta. Even if I don't install the beta, I will still cover some features. I'll just have screenshots and pictures of iOS 19. But either way, stay tuned for iOS 19. As far as anything else from Apple, well, that's it for the week of April 29th, 2025. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. My name is Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.